Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters in Islam. Hope all of you are doing well, insha'Allah ta'ala. First of all, we start off this video slash stream. Obviously, we're streaming, but it's going to be available for people to watch as a video as well. We start off this stream by making dua for our brothers and sisters in Palestine, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eases their suffering, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes things easy for them. This is a very, very difficult situation that they are in, a very, very difficult scenario. And they have been in this difficult scenario for many, many years, in fact, for decades. So, subhanAllah, we make dua for them and we remember them in our du'as and we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eases their affairs. Secondly, you guys have seen what's been going on. I mean, and to be honest with you, if there's one thing that I want to say, if you're not already following myself and some of the brothers on Twitter, do follow us on Twitter. Help us get the message out there. A lot of the brothers are active on Twitter. Mohammed, Hijab himself, myself, some of the other brothers within the Da'wah scene as well. We are active on Twitter, responding to misconceptions and clearing things up and also challenging certain narratives that are out there. So do follow us on Twitter to keep up to date with everything that's going on, inshallah. So without further ado, all of us know about this recent event that happened. It was crazy, okay? Piers Morgan versus Mohammed Hijab, our brother Mohammed Hijab, on Talk TV. Obviously, we know Piers Morgan's got a show on Talk TV and it's called Piers Morgan Uncensored. And actually, I saw where this whole interaction actually stemmed from, and it was from Piers Morgan tweeting something, and Hijab responded to his tweet, and eventually it led to him appearing on his show, and we saw the performance they put up. We're going to be reacting to that performance today, perhaps adding some things as well, because obviously when you're on TV, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize as well is that when a person's on TV, or giving a live lecture or doing anything live, a khutbah live, anything live, anything. It's difficult. You have to liaise with the person's situation. That's number one. The person's just public speaking in general, people don't realize how hard it is, let alone sitting in front of thousands and millions of people, challenging someone else, or bringing your own narrative to the table. It's difficult. It's not an easy scenario to be in. So considering all of these factors, Muhammad, he done a very good job. And actually, you know what? Without further ado, let's actually get into the video and see what we can get from it, inshallah. So we're going to be reacting, as you guys can see on the screen, to the entire thing. And yeah, let's get straight into it.
Welcome back. Last week, I interviewed the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro on the crisis in Israel. His powerful emotional analysis made headlines around the world. 5 million people have watched that interview so far, a measure of the enormous emotion and division this conflict has awoken. Well, among those viewers was Mohammed Hijab, the controversial pro-Palestine influencer with nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers of his own. Here's what he had to say about it.
Do you think Piers?
So just to pause here, when I was watching this, it annoyed me that he's calling him controversial, because it's, in a way, it's like throwing a dig out there. You're basically having a dig. This guy's by the way, just to let everyone know that's watching me, I'm bringing on a controversialist. This guy that I'm bringing, he's controversial. Just to let you know, right? So I'll be honest. When I was initially watching it, it did annoy me, but obviously we'll see what happens.
Piers Morgan on fair grounds would try and speak to me about an issue like this, or Ben Shapiro, when they know what I'm going to come with? Absolutely not. Don't pretend you don't know who I am. You've been watching my videos. You know what I'm about. Your silence is deafening, and your cowardice is apparent.
Shocking.
Well, Mohammed Hijab joins me now. Mohammed, thank you very much for coming in. I hadn't actually watched your videos. I have now. I've watched a few of them. I'm aware you've got a massive following. You've got nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers. You're an influential person, and you have a lot to say about this issue, obviously. So I thank you for coming in, but I'm not too cowardly to talk to you. I don't have a horse in this race. I think I've tried to straddle a divide of being fair-minded with all sides. I've had all voices on the show.
I commend you for that, actually, to be honest, for bringing me on. But do realize I did caveat that with on fair ground. So let's hope that this interview is conducted.
I intend to be completely fair.
Yeah, sure.
I promise you, because all I want to get to here is a real sense of what is going to happen. We can all look back at. We can all look back.
before
Let me just. We can all look back.
Before that, Piers,
Yeah.
sorry, if you want to say fair grounds, you introduced me as a Palestinian controversial.
I actually corrected myself.
Right. So
I said pro-Palestinian. I meant to say
So
pro-Palestinian.
why did the word controversial come into play?
I think you're controversial.
So are you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Piers Morgan is controversial. Piers Morgan is controversial,
So is the ambassador. Why didn't you introduce her in that manner?
right?
I'm happy to say that to many people, her views would be controversial.
So why didn't you introduce me as the Oxford graduate?
Why didn't you introduce him as the Oxford graduate, mate?
Do you want to be introduced as that?
Yes.
Okay. Or an Oxford graduate.
Go ahead.
Okay. No problem. You can be introduced as anything you like, frankly. It makes no difference to the debate.
No. And this is where he's wrong. He says it makes no difference to the debate. Undoubtedly, there were people watching this debate that don't know who Muhammad is. There were people from Piers Morgan's audience that were watching this debate that have never seen Muhammad before. They've never ever seen him. Setting up the debate in a fashion where, first of all, you bring on the Israeli ambassador, so you set the scene, basically, right? You set a certain narrative. Then you introduce your next guest as controversial. You cannot say it makes no difference to the debate. It makes in the eye of the audience, it makes a big difference to the debate. It makes a massive difference to the debate.
Let me ask you this. Where were you when you heard about what happened on October the 7th?
I was at home.
What was your reaction when you heard?
I was actually very sickened by it. And this is something I do want to put on the table because I think it's fair for people to know this. In our religion, we do not believe, okay, as a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and I do not believe in the killing of any man, woman, or children, non-combatants. That is not despite the religious teachings. That is because of the religious teachings. So in terms of condemning Hamas and just jumping straight into it, I condemn not only Hamas, but any other entity, okay, wherein it's proven that this has been done, that the killing of combatants has been done. Therein, I condemn any party that does it. Any party that kills people or strikes at people where it's more probable than not that it will hit a civilian target, I condemn them. And that's why I condemn the IDF.
The Islamic position is very, very clear on this. Killing innocent civilians, killing women, children, etc., is not allowed in the Islamic tradition. Killing women and children is not allowed in the Islamic tradition. And it doesn't matter who does it. I mean, as Muslims, we're very, very blunt with as in, we'll say this bluntly. It doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter if my dad does it, my brother does it, my cousin does it, whatever group you want to mention. The Islamic law is very, very clear on this matter.
Because when they strike, they know that it's more probably than not going to hit civilians.
Speaking about
targets.
the IDF now.
They know that the majority of civilians or the majority of people that are going to be affected are civilians. We know that from the various operations that have been conducted. We know that because now in Gaza, you find that there is a blockade, as you know, for 17 years, but also they're stopping them from electricity, water, which is a war crime under Geneva 4 of the Geneva Convention, Protocol 4 of the Geneva Convention. So this is something I'm surprised you didn't actually mention to the ambassador.
Well, I did mention it.
You didn't say it's a war crime.
Well,
one thing that I want to mention on this is that I posted this yesterday, and undoubtedly, the number's gone up. 600 children still under the rubble in Gaza. 70% of the victims of the Israeli attacks on Gaza since October the 7th have been women, children, and elderly. And when we say it like that, we have to realize what's actually happening on the ground here.
I think it's an arguable point whether it's a war crime.
Okay, let me ask you now.
They are saying Israel, at the moment, Israel is adamant they are not breaching war crimes. Right? It will be determined.
But if we could,
well, it will be determined whether that's the case.
No, sorry.
What is it?
That's incorrect.
Mohammed, let me make a point to you back on that. I think surely we can agree that what happened on October the 7th was a war crime. I mean, when people are taking grandmothers and executing them, kidnapping young children, when they're killing babies in their cribs, we can agree that's war crime, right?
Okay, babies.
Can we?
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib. Sorry, what was the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say.
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your
I
thing.
did work at CNN.
Sure.
I saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's
Then-
unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures, which
CNN,
indisputably show babies have been killed.
no, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
No, that's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you a
picture,
question.
which was published
What's
on
your
the
source?
Telegraph,
What's your source?
is a genuine,
What's your
legitimate
source?
picture.
What is your source?
Are you seriously arguing that
Yes,
babies
yes.
weren't killed?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying, give me a source.
Yeah.
You know full well you've been fired from the Daily Mirror for fake images. So you know full well about the
I didn't accept they were fake.
Exactly. The UK government did.
Yeah, they did.
Aha.
Because the UK government, just to be clear,
Sure.
had waged, in my view, an illegal war in Iraq.
So you're allowed to go against the government, and I'm not allowed to go against the Israeli government.
Of course, you're allowed to.
So tell me now, what's the
You
source?
seem to be making a lot of presumptions about me, Mohammed.
Yeah.
So look at what's happening here, even now in the recent days, subhanAllah. And may Allah make it easy for brothers and sisters. And I actually want to mention something on this point. I am not the type of person, I mean, people are different, right? I'm not the type of person that wants to watch these videos that come out from Gaza. I can't do it. Like, I don't want to watch them. And I hadn't watched any. I had, the effects of the bombings, etc. I hadn't watched anything. And last night, I basically started to watch a few videos. I watched, and I'm talking, guys, I watched less than 3 minutes of video last night. I watched 2-3 videos, and it brought me to tears. What I saw shattered my heart, brought me to tears. Subhanallah. What our brothers and sisters are going through is absolutely terrible. May Allah make things easy for them. Now, there's one point here that I want to mention, and this is a battle of sources. Now, and this is the part where Hijab is about to mention about primary sources, etc. In academia, obviously, alhamdulillah, I've done my bachelor's in history, and I'm currently going to be finishing my master's this year in history. In academia, you have a primary source and you have a secondary source. A secondary source is a commentary on a primary source. So, for example, if you have a journal, if you have a newspaper that's commenting on a current event, the newspaper within itself commenting on that event is a secondary source. Primary sources are many, etc. Now, Hijab is going to question him, is this a primary source? Recently, we had the bombing. We saw the bombing of Al-Ahli Hospital in Gaza, central Gaza. And right after it happened, you had some Israeli sources come out and actually, essentially accept that the Israelis done that, right? Thereafter, when public opinion went crazy, you see a change in the narrative. You see people changing their minds. You see, oh no, it wasn't this, it was this, it was that, it was actually Hamas, it was etc., etc. And you see the narrative shifting. You see the narrative changing. Now, one of the things that I was informed of today, and I can actually bring this up, is that Al Jazeera, which is just as reputable as the Telegraph, it's a news website, etc., and a news company that's very, very well known. Al Jazeera and Channel 4, okay, both doubting the Israeli narrative. Very, very interestingly. For example, we have on YouTube, who was behind the Gaza hospital blast? Visual investigation. You have that by Channel 4. And you also have Al Jazeera mentioning, was the Gaza hospital attack caused by a failed rocket launch? Bird's eye view, etc. So you have news sources coming out actually doubting this narrative that the IDF and the Israelis are pushing about Al-Ahli hospital. So this is why it's really, really important for us to be on social networks like Twitter to actually see what is really happening on the ground, aside from people's narratives. Like we've seen pictures being posted, like the one that they're discussing now, and then others are coming and saying, this is AI. What are you talking about? Where's your source for this? And here's the thing, the attitude with Piers Morgan. Just because you see an Israeli report, do you just believe it? Do you just believe it like that? You just believe it? Yeah. This is what happened. 40 babies decapitated. Where's the evidence for this? Where's the evidence for it? If it is the case, do you think as Muslims we're going to say, oh, 40 babies decapitated? Oh, we agree with that. No, of course we don't agree with that. Of course we don't agree with that. No Muslim is going to agree with that. No Muslim is going to agree that 40 babies should be. Na'udhu billah min dhalik.
Yes,
I
you
was
had
the-
softball question.
I was
for
the
your
editor.
ambassador of
No,
friend.
they weren't. I put all the questions to the ambassador. I was editor of the Daily Mirror when we opposed the Iraq War
Sure.
on the grounds that I believed it was an illegal war.
Yeah.
I still believe that to this day. I think
Good.
it stained this country.
Fantastic.
I don't think you even knew that.
I did know that.
Right.
But I'm not. That's not the point I was making. I was making the point that if you're allowed to go against a government in their classification of an image, then if you have pro-Palestinian activists who are saying, actually, we need to see a source, shouldn't they be entitled to
The
that?
Daily Telegraph published on page 3.
Should they be entitled to that?
You're
Yes or
talking
no?
about the Daily
Should they be
Telegraph
entitled to that? Yes or
said
no?
they had independently verified
they be
the
in-
picture, Mohammed.
No, excuse me.
If you're saying that their
Primary source
verification is
material.
wrong,
No, excuse me. Primary source in academia. I know you've done a journalism degree, which is, frankly, it's not relevant to what we're talking about here anyway.
it probably is to journalism, yeah.
No, it's not to this conflict. But we academics require primary source evidence in order to make it.
The Daily Telegraph said
evidence.
the Daily Telegraph said they verified the picture.
That's a secondary
Fine.
source.
You may say
That's secondary source.
You may say
That's a secondary source.
well, you may say you don't.
And then let's say we have Al Jazeera or whoever else come and say, no, this is fake. So then what? What happens to the verification of the Telegraph?
think it's genuine. I don't agree with you. But the wider point.
That was my point.
But
I
the
said
wider
I want a
point,
source. I just want
Mohammed,
to see
I
the
don't know what we're
evidence.
arguing about here. You're not contesting that babies were killed.
No, I'm saying I want to see the evidence.
So why are you picking on the semantics of the veracity of one picture,
It's not-
which has been verified by British journalists? Why are you picking on that? as
British journalists are
some
not an
example that
authority.
somehow this wasn't as bad as it seemed.
British journalists are not an academic authority. You know that
Sure.
full well. You've been
Not.
fired from Daily Mirror for that very purpose. What I'm saying to you is this: putting this issue to the side, I think you're trying to use this as a red herring to move away from the
What
bigger
red
issues.
herring?
This is a red herring because already 1,023 children have been killed in Gaza. That's why. And you didn't ask the ambassador that question.
I
did you?
literally asked the ambassador.
No,
I said 3,000 people have already been killed in a week
Sure.
in Gaza.
Well, you didn't ask her whether
did you
she
even
did you
listen to my
condemn it?
interview with the
I did
ambassador?
listen. I did listen, but excuse me.
Well, don't put words in my
No, hold
mouth
on.
or say I didn't ask a question.
Let me ask you a question. Do you condemn the killing of those children by the IDF?
Now, before we go into this, notice that whenever a Muslim comes on one of these shows in the media, when events like this are happening, the Muslim it's not possible for the Muslim to say anything without first condemning. And fine, we'll condemn whatever is the wrong things that are happening. We will condemn wrong things that happen. We will condemn the wrong things that happen. Okay, killing of innocent women, children, etc., as we've commented on, we will condemn that all day long. Okay. However, why is it that when others come on, like the Israeli ambassador, they forget condemnation? They're not even asked about it. They're not even asked, do you condemn the killing of all of these Palestinian women and children? Do you understand, Israeli ambassador, that 70% of the people that have died as a result of the Israeli airstrikes are elderly, women, children, etc.? Do you condemn this? They aren't even asked the question. They are not even asked the question. So look at the double standards from the beginning. From the beginning, there are double standards, even when discussing with anyone who is a Muslim or who is sympathetic towards the case of the Palestinians.
I tell you what I condemn.
Yes or no?
I'm going to answer your question.
Now, Piers has directly been asked, do you condemn what has happened? Do you condemn it?
Honestly and truthfully.
Sure.
And because I've tweeted about this, right?
Oh, okay.
I think that what happened on October the 7th was one of the worst atrocities I have ever had to read about or watch on
It happens
videos.
every day in Palestine.
No.
So why do you care about that?
It
one so
actually
much?
doesn't. It doesn't.
It does actually,
No.
yes.
No. The Israeli forces.
I've got the stats for that.
Israeli forces do not go.
Cast-led,
Wait a minute,
protective
Mohammed.
edge. Go and check it out.
Mohammed. Israeli forces.
Cast-led, protective edge.
Israeli forces don't go into Gaza on
Yeah.
one day and grab grandmothers and kill babies in their
excuse
beds.
me. Okay.
And
no, hold on.
rape and abuse women.
So, rape.
I mean, does it matter the way the person's killed? Going into someone's house and killing a baby and then bombing the house, bombing the area and killing babies, does it matter? Does it make a difference?
Is there any evidence for that?
It's been multiple reports in multiple mainstream media publications. Well, you can just sit here and deny everything.
No,
right?
no, I'm not denying anything.
You are.
No, I accept that some civilians have been killed. I do accept this. And I already said
You don't believe any of the reports that women were raped?
No, I didn't say that. I said that it's still to
Well,
be
do you
verified.
think they were raped?
No, I don't know. It's like the Russell Brand thing. You said we don't know. We need to see the evidence. So why do you apply two different standards?
Okay, so it's been reported.
When it's Israel, we know they're raped. When it's Russell Brand, you don't know because it's your friend.
No, it's been reported by legitimate news sources.
When it's Israel, you know they're raped. But when it's Russell Brand, you don't know.
Them.
When it's Russell Brand, you don't know if they're raped.
There's no comparison between Russell Brand and what's happened.
It's the same thing. It's a rape allegation.
It's exact. If you're alleging such big things against people just based on claims, why can we not do the same thing for others? No one does that. No one does that. Even me, like if I'm seeing any allegations and stuff like that, you don't automatically label that person, oh, so-and-so is a rapist. You don't do that. What's the point of court? What's the point of qanun? What's the point of law? What's the point of all of these things? What's the point of these things? If you just hear an allegation and go run with the allegation, what's the actual point of going through a court process, a due process, if you can just hear an allegation and say, oh, he's a rapist, oh, they're rapists? What's the difference between saying rape, these people were raped without evidence, without providing any evidence, just because a claim has been made, and saying, oh, Russell Brand, about Russell Brand, no, he's not rapist. No, he's not. We need to see evidence. We need to make sure. No. What's the difference? They're both allegations, as the brother said.
Why stuttering?
I'm not stuttering.
This is the legendary clip. Maybe we should watch it back a little bit.
Same thing. It's a rape allegation. Why
No,
the
look,
comparison between Russell Brand?
Because look, Piers is challenging him on this, right? He's challenging him. He's pushing forward a bit now.
Brand and what's happened?
It's the same thing. It's a rape allegation.
Speech.
Why stuttering?
Speechless. Look.
I'm not stuttering.
You are.
Have you ever seen? Now, I want to ask you guys a question. Allah Mubarak to our brother Muhammad. Have you ever seen? I don't think I've ever seen Piers Morgan in this situation in my life. I mean, he's usually the one sticking it on people. He's usually the one making other people, these vegans and whoever. I don't know who goes on his show, right? The people who he's interacted with. We've all seen clips of Piers Morgan growing up and stuff like that. He's usually the one doing that to other people, right? He's gone speechless. Look at him. Look at his face. He's speechless.
Not stuttering. You don't have anything
You're
to say.
contesting every single thing that I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the
saying
point of
to
an
you,
argument.
at the end, 1,300 people were brutally
2,000
murdered,
people have been killed on the other side.
abused.
2,000 people have been killed on the
I
other
said
side.
that to the ambassador.
Okay,
Yeah, but the attitude is not the same with the ambassador. It's not the same. This is the issue. This is the issue. The attitude is not the same with the ambassador. You're not keeping the same energy with the different people you speak with. So it's not fair. Don't say it's fair. And here's the thing now, actually, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, and this is why you need to follow us on Twitter. Piers Morgan actually tweeted me today. He actually responded to one of my tweets, which was getting a lot of traction. Let's check the tweet and I'll show you guys. Piers Morgan, when he went up against Bassem Youssef, and I think it's a good time to mention this, after Mohammed went on Piers Morgan's show the next day or so, I think it was the next day, he got this Bassem Youssef guy on. Bassem Youssef, for all of you who don't know, he's very famous in the Arab world. I mean, the guy's got millions of followers on Twitter. He's very, very famous in the Arab world, and he basically he's a comedian, okay? So, I mean, you can judge, if you watch the interaction, you can see that the guy is basically coming, obviously it's a serious topic, but he's coming at the topic with a bit of a comedic approach, right? So now check these two clips. And I tweeted this at Piers Morgan. I said, what on earth? I mean, you guys can go and check the tweet. I said, what on earth is this at Piers Morgan? Look at the first clip.
40 decapitated.
Who has said that?
People hear that, killing babies is horrible. But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image,
Well, who has
with
said
a certain
that?
trigger in people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that?
Who
Who
has
has
said
said
that?
40 decapitated?
Who has said that?
You have repeat.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated babies?
Never.
So Piers Morgan says, I have never said that. I have never said 40 decapitated baby. So Bassem Youssef's confused. He's like, you've never said that? He's like, you've never said 40 decapitated babies. Let's look at the next clip. It's only 7 seconds. Look at the next clip.
One report tonight says that maybe 40 babies were murdered, some of them beheaded. One report tonight.
What's going on? Now, you may think, when I tweeted this at Piers Morgan, what's his response? What's he going to say? Oh, I made a mistake, etc. you won't expect someone to say, "Oh, but I said some." "Oh, but I said beheaded. I didn't say decapitated." You don't expect that, right? You don't expect that. What did he respond? Today he responded to me, and I randomly saw this. I saw because on Twitter you can see verified accounts that are interacting with you. So I went in there and I saw. He responds, "That's me telling B. Yusuf, as in Basim Yusuf, that I've never said 40 babies were decapitated by Hamas." And the second clip of me saying there were reports that maybe 40 babies had been murdered, some of them beheaded. What are you talking about? I mean, Basim's whole point was about when you are mentioning this, etc. He was obviously going with a certain point. You interrupted that point to say, "I've never said that," based on semantical issues. "Oh, I said some," but you mentioned that these are the facts. You mentioned 40. You mentioned 40, as we can hear in the clip.
One report tonight says that maybe 40 babies.
You mentioned 40 babies, maybe 40 babies, etc. So you did report what other people were reporting, etc. Okay, you may have used different words. The point is you reported this, okay?
Some of them beheaded.
Were murdered. Some of them beheaded. Now, I had already responded to Piers on what he's going to say or what he said, because he responded to another tweet that was similar. And I responded to Piers and I said to him simply, and I'll bring that tweet up and I want to show you what I wrote, okay? I said, "You use the word beheaded. Stop playing games, mate." Yeah? Okay? And in the Oxford Thesaurus of English, okay, we see that the word in the thesaurus is, you use the word beheaded. Decapitate means beheaded. It's decapitate comes under behead. Okay? We see this in the Oxford Thesaurus of English. Okay? So what's going on here? Why are we playing these semantics when it comes to the Palestinians? When it comes to the Palestinians and the Palestinian cause, we are okay to play semantical games. We are okay to, "Oh, I didn't say this, I said that," and etc., whatnot. But when it comes to an Israeli claim, we're okay to just accept it. "Oh yeah, we just accept it going forward." What is this double standard?
But do you condemn that, yes or no?
I don't think
So you refuse to condemn?
No.
You do refuse
Why
to condemn?
are you putting words in my mouth?
Because you're not condemning it, are you?
What do you want me to condemn? Israel's
Okay,
right.
excellent. What do I want you to condemn?
Yes.
I want you to condemn the fact that the IDF, knowing that it's more probable than not, pressing buttons from the sky, killing innocent civilians, 1,000 of them children, that is a war crime and that is not acceptable morally. Just like you condemn the other one. Is it condemnable?
I believe, given the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th, Israel is entitled to
kill children.
No, that's not what I said.
Go ahead.
They're entitled to defend themselves with force.
Okay, excellent.
Then the question becomes, Mohammed, there's an interesting debate.
Sure.
If, as it seems to me, you believe too,
Go on.
Hamas are not a force for good, do you believe that?
Well, I think that anybody who kills children and those elements of Hamas who are killing children.
Right, so we can agree. So we agree. So my point is, if Israel's purpose is to rid the world of Hamas after the atrocity of October the 7th, how do they do that, given that Hamas embeds itself in civilian areas in the way that it does? Everyone knows that.
One of the things as well that, I personally, there's this book and I'm currently reading it. It's basically one of the main books on this, and maybe perhaps we can take this opportunity to discuss some of the history with regards to the situation. If anyone who thinks that the Palestinian struggle, the conflict between that's happening, the Israelis bombing the Gaza, etc., and the siege of Gaza, etc. Anyone who thinks that this is all new, this happened from October the 7th, 2023, they are a person who is simply ignorant with regards to the history. They are simply ignorant with regards to the history. We have Israeli historians like Ilan Pappé who have written books like The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, discussing the history of the region. And for example, we have Nakba. In Arabic, Nakba means the disaster, the catastrophe. And the Palestinian situation, even now, is referred to as Nakba. It's a disaster, it's a catastrophe. Okay? What is Nakba? It was the destruction of Palestinian society. okay, the displacement of Palestinians that happened as the result of the events in 1948. That happened as a result of the events in 1948. We have 700,000 or so, around 800,000 or so Palestinians misplaced from their homes. We have around 500 villages, Palestinian villages, displaced, depopulated. We have them depopulated. Some of them, okay, we have them being destroyed, okay, by Israelis. This is not this whole, the events, recent events, I mean, should not be separated from the existing history of the region. As historians, we don't separate things. Okay, these events are not homogeneous events. They are directly linked to what has been going on in this modern history. From from Nakba in 1948, the events even that preceded Nakba, the Zionist movement, Theodor Herzl's efforts to basically, want to have, a specific place where all Jewish people from Europe, etc., can come to that place, etc. And they were offered, as we know in the history, they were offered Uganda. Okay, they didn't want to go to Uganda, evidently. Okay, the Ottomans offered them Anatolia, etc. We have the history is there. The history is there. I would advise everyone watching this to educate yourself on the history. Read Ilan Pape's book, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. Okay, and that will give you an understanding of the history in play here. We shouldn't be separating recent events from the history because it's directly relevant. And the Palestinian cause, is cannot be reduced to discussing Hamas and this and that and whatnot, etc., and modern day things that are happening. This is a cause that precedes Hamas. It's a cause that precedes, all of these things that are happening recently.
Gaza.
Okay.
How do they do that
Excellent.
in the surgically clean way that you seem to think they should be doing?
Okay, can I say
How do you not kill civilians?
Beautiful. I
don't like any civilian death.
Do you mind if I answer?
I don't endorse any civilian death.
Well, no.
Do I
don't condemn it though.
Hang on.
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend itself.
Beautiful.
Now,
can I say something?
No, one more point. So then you can reply.
Sure.
But the question then becomes, what is proportionate?
Okay.
What is a proportionate response?
Okay.
And this point, Israel's right to, let's...
don't have the answer.
Excellent.
Because I don't know what a proportionate response to 1,300 murders is. When 260 young people at a music festival, most of them peace-loving people enjoying themselves at a festival, when they get slaughtered by people paragliding in with machine guns, I don't know what the proportionate response is.
Piers, let me respond.
So can you tell me?
You've spoken for about 2 minutes. You didn't do that with the ambassador, by the way. I'm just showing you're saying fair, but you're not being fair.
I've said
okay, so let me paint a picture.
I will be fair.
Sure.
I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say.
Right, excellent. You're from Irish descent. We know that there was an IRA in Belfast and so on. Okay, so let me ask you a question now. If there was IRA in Belfast and they were occupying council properties and so on, and then we have a plane of RAF going to destroy that council property, destroy all of Belfast, flatten it, as one representative said, got live. The IDF said that. One of the IDF members said that we will flatten it completely. That's what we want to do. We don't care about accuracy, he said. We care about damage. That's what he said. You didn't question her about that. But anyway.
Can you imagine? Can you just imagine? Can you imagine for a second any Muslim saying something like that? Anyone? Official, non-official. Can you just imagine what headlines would be? We don't care about accuracy. We care about damage. Essentially, when you're saying you don't care about accuracy, what does that mean? If you don't want to kill civilians, if you don't want to kill women and children, you should be caring about accuracy, right? Right? How can you say something like that? How can an IDF representative say something like that? Can you imagine anyone else said something like that? Any Muslim said something like that? That, we don't care about accuracy. We care about damage. That's our mentality here.
If the RAF were to then go into Belfast and flatten, as the IDF and these guys want to do, if they want to flatten Belfast with all the white people, I'm going to use the term white, all the white people, council estates living in there, with the excuse that we're doing it because it's proportionate defense to the terrorists. What would you say about that?
Here's what I would say to you.
Is that acceptable or unacceptable?
Here's what I would say to you.
Yeah.
The IRA committed a series of atrocities over numerous decades. They targeted, in their eyes, military and political targets. They usually gave some form of warning, not always.
Okay.
They
were terrorists.
No, they were terrorists.
Sure.
They never, ever went out one day and committed the barbaric slaughter of 1,300.
Irrelevant.
No.
If they did. If they did.
Sorry, it's
if
not
they
irrelevant.
did. If they did.
No, Mohammed.
If they did.
Here's why it's not irrelevant.
Okay.
They never did.
But if they did, would you accept
by the
the
way,
RAF to flatten down Belfast?
There were outrages committed by
my question is,
by the loyalist paramilitaries too.
My question is,
here's my point.
If they did, would you think it's acceptable?
They never came close to committing an outrage on that scale.
If they did, is it acceptable?
They never went in and kidnapped grandmothers or killed babies in cribs.
Is it acceptable or not?
They believe they were fighting for better or worse. And
answer the question, mate. Answer the question.
I believe for worse, and that's why I'm glad peace was found.
They
believe they were fighting
my question.
political and military targets.
I'm trying to bring it closer to home to you.
You're trying to compare apples and oranges.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
It's you that's
saying if they did. He's giving you a hypothetical scenario. If they did, would that be a justifiable response? And that's the question. That's the question. Are you claiming this is a justifiable response? Killing 70% of the people, as I've mentioned, that have died, women, children, elderly. Is this a response?
Doing that.
The only comparison that I would say that we saw from October the 7th and what Hamas did is with ISIS.
Excuse me.
It's the only comparison.
Do you mind if let me ask you a question. A Palestinian
and ISIS were taken out, by the way, with planes. No, here's my.
You didn't do this with the ambassador.
I'm going to finish.
You did this with Ben Shapiro, which you gave the show to him.
No, hang on. I'm giving you plenty of time.
No, you're not.
I'm giving you plenty. You asked about the analogy of a plane flying over, targeting.
But you didn't answer my question.
But that did happen, Mohammed, with ISIS.
Would you accept Belfast to be flattened?
Wait a minute.
Or not? Yes or no?
Wait a minute. It never happened. So the like for like isn't.
It's not. It's a hypothesis.
It's a hypothetical scenario, man.
It's hypothetical.
It's not. I don't do hypotheticals.
You don't do hypotheticals?
No, let's deal with reality.
Okay, let's deal with reality.
Mohammed, let me finish. Then you can answer.
You don't want to ask a question.
No. Here's the reality.
British public can see this.
Here's the reality, right? Let's just.
British public can see this.
Yeah, they can see it.
Yeah, go on.
They listen to the debate.
Keep going.
Right? For what it's worth, I think it's a good debate to have. Right? These are questions many people on the pro-Palestinian side are having. I get it. Right? But you're trying to compare what happened on October the 7th with the IRA.
No, I'm not.
I'm comparing. Wait a minute, Mum.
Question.
I'm comparing it to ISIS. And the way that the world in the end dealt with ISIS actually was to use airstrikes. And many civilians were killed.
There's a huge difference.
Many innocent people died. They're not.
You don't understand it because you have no idea of the religious.
What's the difference between what happened on October the 7th and ISIS?
The difference between the Palestinian resistance is the following. Okay, any kind of thing which has Palestinian resistance attached to it, and ISIS, which is a brand of tekfirism, okay, is that ISIS is just one of many brands of tekfirism, which you don't know what it is, which is a kind of excommunication type heresiological Islamic sect. Okay.
The point is he doesn't understand this. When they say Hamas and ISIS are exactly the same thing, it's a factually incorrect statement. It's a factually incorrect statement because ISIS would completely disagree with Hamas. ISIS would, on an ideological level, would completely they would free themselves from Hamas. Okay. And Hamas would free themselves from ISIS on an ideological, even on a belief level. They don't believe the same things.
Okay, so if there's
it's nihilistic mass murder. That's all they care about.
Listen, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying something else.
You agree with me, don't you?
I do, but of course I do, but you're not understanding what I'm saying, so I'm trying to break it down.
I am understanding what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that anything...
And I'm not anti-Palestinian, by the way.
Sure, please, but...
Over the many years, if you bothered to check what I said about it, I've always tried to shine a light on the plight of the Palestinians.
Allow me to speak, please, because you're just talking over me. The difference between the two are the following, right? Even if we assume that the killing of combatants in most definitions of terrorism is something which brings someone to be a terrorist, okay? I would say that if that is the case, then the state of Israel breaks that threshold and meets that condition. Because why is Israel not a state terrorist? If their highest officials are admitting that we want damage and not accuracy. Answer me this question. Why is the state of Israel
these type of statements, we really need to think about them deeply. We want damage and not accuracy. What kind of thing is that to say? What kind of attitudes does that create in current scenarios, what kind of attitude does that create?
illegally occupying Gaza and the West Bank according to international law, and even the ICJ said that, okay, which is, as you know, an organ of the UN. All right, so this is international law. They're occupying, they're seizing, they're bombarding, they're indiscriminately killing, and they're blocking the supply lines. They're using white phosphorus. They're doing what you call mowing the grass, which is every couple of years, every few years, they're killing the Palestinian people.
Let me
I want to understand what differentiates an Israeli in the sky pressing a button, killing the civilians, from somebody in any terrorist organization shooting the people. What differentiates it?
Israel will say it has a right to defend itself.
So will the terrorists. Right? That's what Osama bin Laden said.
And they will.
That's exactly Osama bin Laden's argument.
No, it's not though.
Yes, Hamas, it is. I read his fatwas.
Hamas aren't defending themselves. Bin Laden wasn't defending themselves.
Define defense.
Bin Laden was trying to kill as many of the enemy as possible.
Let me ask you a question. How could it be that an occupier is defending itself in the first place? The notion that Israel is defending itself.
And just before, this is another famous clip that's become famous, Before Mohammed mentions, before I let you guys hear what he's gonna say, I want to caveat this. Remember what I was saying about history. This is why the historical context is so important. This is why what he's about to say. This is why historical context is so important. Treating this as a separate, treating the recent events as separate events from, and separating them from the history is completely unjust. Look.
That an occupier is defending itself in the first place. The notion that Israel is defending itself is as absurd as the notion that the rapist is defending itself from the victim.
Okay.
Because Israel is the occupier.
You haven't asked
hold
me.
on, hold on.
But
excuse me, let me finish. Just let me finish.
And that's the point.
An occupier by international law definition means that they are already in an offensive posture. If they're in an offensive posture, if someone brings you to Piers Morgan, grabs you by the thing, throws you into your bathroom, you're in your bathroom, you're screaming, and they're eating food, having a good time.
Okay.
One day you come out of your bathroom, you try and fight one of them, who's defending who from who?
Mohammed,
who is self-defend?
Mohammed,
How can you self-defend when you're occupying?
Answer
me this question.
Let me speak now.
No, but answer the question.
Let me speak.
Answer the question first.
Fine, I'm going to speak.
Yeah.
Let me answer.
Yeah.
I believe that Israel's made a number of bad choices.
That's not answering my question.
Wait, I'm telling you what I think.
You don't answer my question.
Telling you what I think.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I don't think Israel's been perfect at all, right?
You should have had the moral high ground.
I think a lot of the decisions Israel's taken are wrong. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way, his attempts to usurp the power of the Supreme Court this year in Israel has been a complete disaster.
Do you condemn them from killing civilians or not?
I do not. I will defend them this week.
Yes or no?
Wait.
Yes or no?
I will defend them this week in defending themselves against one of the worst terror attacks ever.
So you can kill civilians for that?
You can target Hamas.
Can you target? No, hold on.
And if Hamas, the controlling, governing, ruling body in Gaza, hide amongst the public,
this is a false.
Members of the public will die.
You're talking about fallacies. This is called the Moat and Bailey fallacy, which is that you're trying to defend one controversial idea by using another. It's Moat and Bailey fallacy. You can check it up on your own time. The point is this. I'm not asking you whether Israel has a right to defend itself. We've already said of the logical and legal impossibility. The logical and legal impossibility of an occupying power, according to international law, of actually defending itself, because it's already.
Even if we bring this to a local level now, if someone came right now, they smashed my door down, they smashed this other door down, and they came inside, and they punched my face. And then I grab. Everyone is going to agree, right? Everyone's going to say, like, if we go with Piers' argument, which is self-defense argument, right? Everyone's gonna say to me, this is me going with his argument, by the way, everyone's gonna say, you have a right to defend yourself. That's what Piers is saying, right? You guys have a right to defend you. They have a right to defend themselves, right? Even according to the scenario, the local scenario that I just gave you now, if I grab a baseball bat and I smash the guy over his head, and then I smash him over the head again, and then I smash him over the head again, and I kill him, what's gonna happen to me? The UK law, they're going to say to me, hang on a second, mate. You got a right to defend yourself, but that's to a limit. You haven't got a right to kill the guy. So even according to Piers' argument, this is the point Hijab's trying to make. To what extent, like, even according to your argument, Piers, to what extent are they allowed to kill civilians now? Are you allowed to bomb a hospital now? Are you allowed to flatten Gaza? Oh, to what extent are we talking about here? What your point that you're making? What extent?
Let me finish.
I know.
It's already in an offensive posture. Now I'm saying this. If it is the case, you're just saying it's defending itself against Hamas. Is the only way to defend itself against Hamas by dropping bombs in the most densely populated area, one of the most densely populated areas in the world? Is that the only way? It's a false dichotomy. You're creating a false dichotomy. They can do surgery. They can do insurrection. They can go in and they can target.
We're going to take
Hamas.
a short break. I'm going to keep you here. I want to finish this. I want to give you the time. I think it's an important debate, an important conversation.
Sure. But you have to answer my questions.
I will. We'll come back. Yeah, but actually, you have to answer mine. It's my show. Actually,
I can answer you.
I love the way that he completely switched to switch the thing.
For the record, you can ask me as many questions you want,
Sure,
but
sure.
I'll tell you what I think.
I've answered all your
We're going
questions.
to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to finish with a few more minutes, okay?
Yeah, so now they're coming back from the break, yeah. There was one thing I wanted to mention. What was it, man? There was one point I wanted to mention, which is about, subhanAllah, I think I've forgotten. There was a point I wanted to mention here. He was talking about, what is he talking about just now?
Actually,
I can answer you.
For the record, you can ask me as many questions you want. Sure. To answer mine, it's an important conversation.
But you have
to I remembered. You know, there's certain things I know about this interaction, right? There's some things that okay, I'm just going to leave it.
Come back and we're going to finish with a few more minutes, okay? Yeah. Welcome back to Piers. Says, well, Mohammed Hijab is still with me. Mohammed, we've had. I
remember this second bit wasn't really like I can't remember there being anything really that significant in the second bit. But we'll watch it anyway, obviously.
A lively debate. I knew it would be a lively debate. This is a very important issue. It's a passionate issue. People on both sides. If I tweet about anything, doesn't matter what I say. One side, if I'm even remotely sympathetic to them, the other side, poor abuse and vice versa and so on. Let's try and cut through it all and get to what happens here. How do we find peace in the Middle East? I've been covering Israel-Palestine since I've been a journalist, 3 decades. And it seems to me we're as far away now as we've ever been. How do you think we get to a place of peace?
You'll be surprised. Look, even Hamas, some 4 or 5 years ago, they even agreed to the 1967 lines, the borders. And what you have to understand, that this cannot be scapegoated on Hamas, because before Hamas's existence, this was still going on. This was going on before Israel's existence.
But do you believe in a two-state solution?
No, I believe in... Look, even Hamas was proposing a two-state solution.
But do you believe in it?
Look, there's advantages and disadvantages. This is different. I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one.
Could you imagine 2 states next to each other living in peace? Palestine, Israel.
Look, it's a possibility. I mean, as I say, even Hamas was saying that that's a possibility. I mean, this was 4 years ago. But what I want to bring to your attention is that nothing can happen if the international body or the UN becomes a toothless agency. In 2018 to 19, when actually 221 people were killed on a peaceful protest in Gaza. It was called the Great March of Gaza. 220 people died. Hamas didn't shoot a bullet. No rocket was launched, yeah? So 220 people died, and this is even mentioned by the UN and these kind of agencies. They tried to bring it up, the Palestinian Authority, they tried to bring this up to what we call the ICJ, which is part of the UN, okay? What happened is the Donald Trump administration, they threatened to freeze the assets of the ICJ, which tells you the following. What are the Palestinian people to do? Because the fact of the matter is, if they try and bring it up...
Let me ask you. Let me finish
the point.
If they try and
bring it up...
We're running out of time. That's why I'm jumping in.
But if they try and bring it up to international law, it's thwarted.
I do think international law matters.
Sure.
I just don't believe that any peace can be achieved with Hamas in charge. Do you?
Before Hamas...
Now, after what happened last weekend.
Forget about last weekend. Last weekend is...
Can't forget about last weekend.
No, it's not. Before last weekend, before Hamas in 1987, this was still going on.
But not on this scale. And
worse.
No, it wasn't as bad as this.
What are you talking about?
What happened on October 7th
that shows ignorance
was
of
the
history.
Single worst assault on a populace since 9/11. It was.
Yom Kippur War was 2,600 people died, by the way. 1973. That's false.
In one day?
In one day, I don't know, about 600 people died in one day.
Mohammed, I've got to leave it there. We've run out of time. I gave you more time than I planned to. Sure. I hope you appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you coming in. Thanks.
Okay, so I mean, that's the clip. I do want to say, I mean, let's bring this back. Yeah. So there's a couple things that I would like to say to end off the reaction, inshallah. I think Muhammad, as I was mentioning in the beginning of this stream, I think Muhammad, he done an excellent job. People become very, very critical of others, and they themselves could not stand up to do a 5-minute reminder. Public speaking, by the way, is one of the scariest thing. I mean, I'm a public speaker, I know, right? It took me years. I've been in this scene for like 10 years. Okay, over 10 years. It took me years to get to a stage where I like where you can confidently, like absolutely confidently, like speak in front of people, etc. whatnot. It's a thing where like you have to develop over time, right? Let alone, that's public speaking, by the way, let alone sitting in front of someone who's going to question you and probe you. And one of the best at it, to be honest with you, Piers Morgan, I mean, as a journalist, one of the best at it, at his job that he does. He's one of the best people at it. So to sit in front of one of the best, and one of the, if not the actually the most famous journalist in the UK, possibly, right? And to put up such a performance, I think is an excellent achievement, mashallah, on the part of Hijab. So may Allah bless him, may Allah increase him, and let's and let's treat it as it is. I mean, it was an excellent performance. People, they start nitpicking. You said this, you said that, you shouldn't have said this, you shouldn't, etc. Whatnot. I mean, he was in a very, very tough situation, and he came out on top, mashallah. I would definitely say that. And then the response to this whole thing has shown that. Piers Morgan actually himself, what did he say? He tweeted, might as well bring it up since we're on the stream, and I know people are going to watch this after, so I don't want to long this more than it needs to be. I tweeted it. Like someone basically tweeted Piers Morgan and was like, he's never going to invite Mohammed Hijab again, basically, right? And Piers Morgan responded and he said, why wouldn't I invite him again? People want to hear what he has to say. Our interview last night was the highest rated on Talk for 4 months. Talk TV for 4 months. Had another 1 million people watching live on our Piers Uncensored YouTube channel. Our biggest YouTube live audience since my Ronaldo interview. Are you mad? That's crazy. And has now been viewed another 4 million times. So, mashallah, and brothers and sisters, the last point that I'm going to end on, inshallah, is educate yourself on the matter. Don't just be those people who, you're screaming free Palestine and you're saying all of this, etc., but you haven't educated yourself, about the issue. Educate yourself about the topic. Read up on the history of the subject. And as mentioned, one of the book recommendations I'll give, and is probably the book recommendation everyone gives on this subject. I've seen multiple people recommending this book, and I'm currently reading it. It's a very, very good read. I'm within the book now. It's called The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé. The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé. Read that book, educate yourself on the matter. There is a question that people are asking, do you think Piers is secretly supporting Palestinians? I'll be honest with you, I do get the vibe that Piers is sympathetic towards the Palestinian cause. Maybe he's in a situation, with people at the level of Piers Morgan, and he's essentially a celebrity. I mean, he is essentially a celebrity, right? Even though he's come up through journalism and stuff like that, he's essentially a celebrity. People in the position of Piers Morgan, it's difficult for them in current times to express. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I have seen that theory floating around, which is that theory that Piers Morgan is secretly, pro-Palestinian. Allah knows best. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for watching. Please do share the video, subscribe if you're new around here. If you're new around here, click that subscribe button. It takes 1 second. Keep up to date with the content. Inshallah, we'll see you in the next video or the next stream. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.